Hi, and welcome to Inspiring Artists Worth Studying. Today I'm going to be talking about Jack Kirby. Hi, my name is Luis Escobar. I'm a storyboard artist from the Simpsons television show. I've been working on the show for over 25 years now, and I'm here to empower you. So, Jack Kirby is somebody who, when I was beginning really studying art, I didn't understand. I looked at his work and wondered what the big deal was, because his work to me was extremely ugly. So if you are in that mindset or that camp, I'm going to try to explain to you why Kirby is awesome. And if you are new to this artist, I'm going to show you what it is that is really worth looking at when it comes to Kirby. So let's get started. So here's a comic book page from Kirby, and of course we've got the Red Skull over here, who is extremely ugly. Okay, so here's the thing about Kirby and why it's amazing. First of all, look at the way that this shot is composed. Look at the design of all this machine, which is just this abstract compilation of amazing elements. Part of the thing that makes Kirby appealing is the way he drew technology and the way that he designed. And this whole shape and mass that is happening here, with the way that these wrinkles are working, which are in 3D, and yet they're very abstract and designed. This hand, which is extremely dynamic, coming at us in a foreshortened way, and it's exciting and dynamic. This pose is really dynamic. This whole entire panel is all energy and power, and it's really just simple. It's just him looking at a panel, and yet there is a lot of energy and power. This panel here is insanely cool. Look at the way that this all flows down. This comes in, it goes into the background, it goes further into space. This general black shape gives it depth, and at the same time, the way that this reduces in size, showing the depth, this coming forward, the energy coming out of this, it's all coming at us. The design patterns around this character, it's like an explosion of design and energy coming at us. There is so much power and so much drama. And it's a Dutch angle, of course, so that gives it even more dynamism. We've got all these kind of lines here for, like, there's a hallway back here, and it all is bringing us forward. The way that these folds come down to show us that there is wrinkles there, but they all come down back into the composition. And then these folds wrap around the form. These folds wrap around the form. These folds wrap around the form in foreshortened. So these are going back. These are going forward. So now we've got all this depth happening. We've got these folds over here going back into space. The black shape here that halos his face, and this goes black because of this going black. Also, it all frames this face. So there's a lot going on. It's a very clear, the composition, the storytelling, the power is all in just the one panel. And the thing about Kirby is that he used to just start on one corner and the other. Like, he didn't even do like any underdrawing or whatever. He would just start drawing and then he would just finish like he was writing. So that makes it even crazier that he's able to do this sort of thing. Again, I could basically say the same thing about this panel as I did with this, with the foreshortening, with the power, with the energy, with the elements of design coming in. It's just, and again, this also, you can feel the energy as this plummets into the water. he was a master of composition, design, and energy and power, dynamism, that sort of thing. So here we have another one. This is all design. This is all like an abstract painting. And the colors are all weird because they only had 4 colors at the time to be able to print with. But it's not about the colors so much as the line work here, the design here, the negative spaces being used, the positive spaces being used, the composition, the way that everything comes in, the way that these characters are designed and shaped. You got even the Kirby zigzags coming in here, but every single one of these things has a point and a purpose. It's not zigzags for the sake of zigzags. There is a logical, there is both a design and a logic to what he was doing. This black shape here is purely just design shapes, because it's an interesting shadow shape. It doesn't really adhere to anything logical, which contradicts what I just said before. But the entire idea is to make an interesting mass here. But these do have a logic to it. This is the actual shadow of those muscles back here. And then this, it's interesting because Kirby also, he could have just done a flat shape here, because it's, but he didn't. He made it, he made the shadows interesting as well. If I have a critique here, is that these lines are coming down this way, and maybe they should have been going in the direction of the perspective. Same with her. So this kind of flattens out a little bit. Otherwise, it's a great drawing. Here we have another Kirby page. Kirby could also do slightly more traditional before he started going even more abstract. But even when he was doing the slightly more traditional style, he still had all these graphic elements that were amazing, and the composition here and the energy coming out and everything about this page and the way that things are going on is extremely dynamic. The interesting thing about this page is that you can see all the secrets, right? So just to point out, notice how there's a bunch of whiteout over here. The inker obviously messed up somehow, but the reason I'm pointing that out is that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay that you have to go over the thing again. It doesn't have to be perfect every time. There is an option of whiting out stuff. This panel here obviously was a figure that was cut out and replaced, and either again the inker really screwed up and had to redraw it, or something happened there. But that's another mistake that you can see them working this out. All these artists were human beings. Mistakes happened, and it's okay, and it still looks great in spite of the whiteout and the messing up. But yeah, the dynamism, it's so amazing. Another crazy abstract, absolute bananas drawing by Kirby here. The designs of these things, it's just amazing. Like who comes up with these shapes? Who comes up with the look of this technology, and look at the way that the cosmos is being drawn over here. The thing about it is, if you squint, you get these masses of abstract, interesting shapes. And there's this notion that if you're drawing representational art, that there is no need for an abstract, flat graphic design or shape. And that is actually not the case. When people react to a drawing, whether it's representational or abstract, they are in fact reacting to the placement of graphic shapes and designs within the picture plane above all. And then as a secondary read, as a secondary feeling, they start looking deeper into the detail. But the way that things are placed in the picture plane graphically is what people emotionally react to first. So it's always really important to clearly understand the graphic placement of masses and big shapes in the way that they contrast and flow into each other and juxtapose against each other and harmonize, while still maybe sometimes deliberately conflicting in certain spots, in order to create interest and dynamism and bring people closer and to want to look at the picture. And that's one of the things that Kirby did extremely well, is this, even unconsciously, he got to the point where he was just able to place objects in the picture plane in such a way that it just felt interesting, all the way down to the most crazy weird faces and things like that he put together and created. So here's a Captain America, and this is really one of the things that is a very Kirby-ism thing, where it's just giant leg coming forward, leg going back, which is definitely a Kirby thing. But here's the thing. Here's the interesting thing here. He's got the front left, or to us right leg, and his left hand, or to our left, coming forward, which is correct. Both arms aren't coming, both right and left arm aren't coming together, or both left and right. I mean, that's how people work, that they balance each other, they balance themselves out by the opposite arm and the opposite leg as they walk. But again, this is really dynamic, exciting pose here, and everything is leading you to Captain America. There's a ton of detail here. It's also leading you to this guy. So these are all pointing to him, but everything else is you have to kind of this rocket and this airplane is pointing you to Captain America. This Captain America is pointing you to him. So this is all. So these are the two guys you're supposed to read. His leg is pointing to his face. His whole body is pointing to his face, and yet it's also going through here, through his arm, and pointing at him. So all of this stuff, and then this is coming down, and it's pointing at him. This building is coming down, and it's pointing at both of them. And everything is working together to work within the composition. You see this guy, but he's like he's a tertiary read. And everything here is pointing to both of these guys. I think the only thing that isn't pointing to everybody is this helicopter, which is just kind of coming across, and kind of, in a way, this helicopter is saying, don't look down here. This is where your eye should stop. Go back to where all this energy is going on. And we've got Cap over here. And so it's all design, it's all energy, and there's an element here too of a C curve for the leg here. And this, though it isn't completely straight, I'm going to be talking about Bruce Timm in a few weeks, but you can there's this shadow that's complete straight, and it contrasts with this curve here, and then this curve here, instead of being like a football where it's just a Michelin Man kind of a thing, there's a it doesn't it like a real muscle, like the muscle ought to do. It stops here and then it goes in and it does a C. This is an S curve here. So there's a C curve here, an S curve here, and a straight line here. And those lines subconsciously add so much interest, so much dynamism, so much flow, and so much natural, organic truth to this leg. It's just that in and of itself, it's an appropriately anatomically sound design that makes it feel like a leg. And then we have like a bit of a ball for the knee, but it's not really a ball because look at boom boom, he breaks it up into a box so that we know that there's a front plane right there in the front. It's I mean, every single one of these I could break down into tiny little, and then here's this because this is wrapping around, this is wrapping around, this is wrapping around, and the way that these dark shapes are coming and they're just like flat planes, representing the depth of the muscles whilst also adding shadow. I mean, this is why you can't just glance at a Kirby drawing and go, ugh. You got to really look at what is being said and how it's being done, and he's amazing. Now this I could spend a whole day just talking about this. I won't. I'm just going to very quickly say this is energy and power and dynamism. This is so much. If you want to know what you ought to do when you're drawing action, look at this page. It's just power and dynamism and excitement. There isn't a dull drawing here. It's just, and there's foreshortening and the way that the blacks play off against each other and the contrast between this black area and this white area. No matter how, there's a bazillion. Here's the thing. It's so full of detail, and yet it is crystal clear. It's really, really difficult to do. If you look at the penciling or a black and white ink of many modern artists, especially the artists around the 90s, you could not tell what the heck was going on. There was so much detail that it took the colorist to break to explain what was what, because everything was competing. Everything was competing. Everything was saying, "Look at me! Look at me! Look at me!" And you couldn't tell what the hell's going on. But a black and white Kirby, as detailed as it is extremely clear, because he knows what he's doing. He's a master at clarity, dynamism, detail, composition, design, lighting. He's absolutely worth taking a look at. Another black and white comic book page. Look at this. Look how pushed this is. This is extremely pushed, and every single line here, including these zappity zap lines, which he uses a lot when he's doing any kind of action, is just pushing the dynamism of the power of this motion. It is so extreme and it's so full of energy. Even this silent holding a gun shot, like you've got Mr. Miracle over here in the foreground. This little zappity zap squiggle, really interesting. This black, almost a musical note shape here. It's meant to be kind of like a reflective element of his costume, but it's so interesting. Just that little detail makes it so interesting. This could have been just a regular old shadow shape, like just a mass, but he added some interest here by giving it an interesting shape, as if it's reflecting something. It's a reflective surface, and the reflection is of some weird shape behind the character. So that is the logic that you could, that you can, well, there's just like a weird shape back there and it's being reflected on the helmet, you know, and then that makes it interesting. These shadow shapes are meant to be, wrinkles, but it's made out of a thicker, different material, so it makes these interesting, weird, goopy shapes. These guns are amazing. These guys' faces are amazing. Look at the shape of these shadows. They're not the same. He's not retreading the same kind of designs. This guy's face is amazing and anatomically sound. And the interesting thing about this guy's face is he's got these muscles that wrap around here. And if you look at the Riley abstraction, those are the abstract. Those are the movements of the human face, the muscles of the human face. They wrap around like that. And when you design them, and he added like a little bit of a squiggle in here, just to add just a little bit of interest, but it's anatomically correct. What he's doing is not making things up. He's not making lines for line's sake. He is literally he's wrapping those muscle shapes on the face, and those are actual muscle rhythms. And these muscle rhythms go in and out. Look, they connect right here to these muscles up here, and because that is correct. And then these muscles up here, they wrap around, and they all kind of encircle the face, making it interesting and rhythmical. We've got these. His wrinkles are so interesting and cool. Like you just. I just, all I want to do is steal all these wrinkle shapes because they're so accurate and yet designed and dynamic and interesting. This hand is insanely cool. Even the way that he's holding in the gun, and it's just wrapping around. Now, part of this is also the inker. I don't know who inked this, but whoever inked this was an absolute wizard in inking. But this is just look at all the designs, all the design happening here, and it definitely has to do with the collaboration with the inker, because I think that if you had a different inker, they probably would have made different choices, and it probably wouldn't look nearly as dynamic. But look at how amazing. See this. I just want to point this out. These wrinkles here wrap around here until they get about right here, and then they start going the opposite direction, which makes the torso look like it's bending like this. And that is how detail works. Detail is information that you put into a drawing to tell the audience what the spatial relationships of a form is. All of this is amazing. Oh man, it's just, and then there's this really cool explosion shape, which is just very well, interestingly designed. And look at this arm shape. It's all weird and wrinkly, and so he's able to just do whatever kind of graphic weird shape he wants to do. But it's an interesting shape. And because it doesn't have to be anatomical, because it's wrinkles and cloth, you can kind of get away with doing just a random weird shape and then just kind of add wrinkles, or giving it like that power and punch. His arm is really interesting because it's coming in like this, and he's going. I would never thought to do an arm like that. And it looks like he's really like, it really gives it that much more punch. It's so good. This guy's head is tilted this way, and you can see it's not just straight, it's tilted. And it makes it, and it gives it that much more punch. You could see the brow over here, and then the crest of the cheekbone right here. It's so good. Again, this oof, getting kicked. You see the kick of his foot here. It still reads. You can tell what's happening. There's a ton of explosion detail here. It still has a lot of power. This is so good. He's being framed by these two legs, and these Kirby legs are insane. They just have like a C curve, and the C curve is broken up into these minor C curves. But except there's two curves. There's a C curve here, a C curve here, but this is not quite a C curve. It's a box because muscles are soft, bones are hard, so you give bones a little bit of a hard edge. Boom, 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 and it just comes in and just adding all this Kirby squiggle. This Kirby squiggle, by the way, adds interest and dynamism, but it still is anatomically accurate with these muscles. These muscles are still okay. It's just that this here and this here they're both connected, and then there's this kind of Kirby squiggle that he adds just for interest, and it works without it stopping to being anatomically sound, anatomically correct. And then there's this kind of Kirby squiggle here, dividing the leg muscle here, but again, this would have been, this division would have been here whether or not there was a squiggle here. He just added that squiggle to add interest in it, and it's really dynamic and interesting. And here's the thing: it doesn't stop the flow of these legs, and then these wrap around. Neither one of these legs is the same. These are not mirror images. You see the other leg coming in. It's done in a black shape, so it doesn't really have to. It doesn't take away from anything. These elements here, this is black. Everything frames him. And again, he's not just standing there. We've got this foreshortened leg. This is coming forward. This is going away. And we've got this contrapposto position where he's just his legs are going one way and his body's turning the other, adding much more dynamism. We've got his face stands out. Why? Because it is framed by black, and that's the purpose of adding all those black shapes. I better keep moving, or else I'm never gonna move away from all of these. I've only got like 2 drawings left here, so again, just about everything that I've said before can be said here. Just the dynamism and the design of all these characters and everything that's going on, the way that this energy and the composition is going through. Kirby is just amazing. I want to say this is an earlier Kirby because it doesn't seem to have some of the design elements on his later art, but it could also just simply be that the inker was doing something else, and it just changed. And the choices the inker made would be different, because look at the hair on this guy. And I don't know if this was the decision of the inker or not, but man, whoever inked this did a fantastic job on that hair. That looks like hair. But again, the dynamism, the excitement, the energy of Kirby, boom, the power here that is coming off of this. It's just, look at this foreshortened hand. It's very clear, like this black shape, how everything is being framed. We've got this power, this flip over, and then you can see that there's just a lot of energy and power. It's part of the thing that makes these interesting is the negative space, the space where there is white, because that's what contrasts with the detailed areas so that you can clearly see what's going on. So even when he does this energy coming off of everybody, it doesn't go all the way to the characters. It doesn't overlap them. Why? Because what you want to have is that negative white space. Because look how much detail and black is happening within this area. So the last thing you want is to mess it up by putting these lines all the way connected to this, because then it won't read. The energy doesn't touch the characters. There is a negative space of white around everything so that they all stand out, so that everything stands out, so that things are clear. And that is something that is important. In a lot of modern comic book artists tend to not do that. They put so much junk behind the characters all the time, and because they can, that they end up shooting themselves in the foot and making things extremely unclear. We could learn a lot from somebody like Kirby, who knew where to put the negative space, who works with the white space. So there you have it. This is just a handful, just a small handful of the things to talk about with Kirby, an example of what makes Kirby amazing. Don't overlook him because you don't like how ugly his characters may look, because there is way more to Kirby than beautiful women and handsome men. It's all about energy. It's all about dynamism. It's all about the way that stories are told, the poses that he's using, the designs that the design choices he's making, to the most minute detail. He's just amazing. Now I'm going to recommend some books. I'm going to have links to books like this below. I don't know if I'm going to see if I could find an updated version of this, but if I can't, then I will just link directly to this one. But this is one of my all-time favorite universes that Kirby created, the New Gods. And if and this is some of his peak work, where you get to look at his design, his dynamism. This is in black and white. I'm sure that there might be a colored version of this as well, but I don't see I really don't see the reason why you need it in color, because Kirby is so clear, and it's all about how dynamic his storytelling is. Look at this, so awesome. So yeah, I highly recommend anything with the New Gods that he wrote. His fourth world is just so good. Absolutely fantastic work. Look at this guy. Look at it. So good. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Andy Manley, who loaned me this book. He's currently, as of the time of this recording, an intern over on The Simpsons, and has become a patron, and he's a great guy. And he loaned me this book to share with you, because it has so much great Kirby art, and it has the history of Kirby, what he did, and you know, just like a little bit of history of his background. And but here's the thing, it's got some pencils in here, so you could see what he did before the inker got a hold of him and did ink work on top. So you could see his actual pencil drawings, and you can see what an inker would have to work over. It's got his influences, it's got some of his earlier work. And the interesting thing about looking at Kirby's earlier work is that you can tell that he was able to do much more traditional art, more academic art, the kind that you tended to see in most comics. Like, you know, his earlier art was a little bit weak, but you can tell that. But you could also see how he grew in skill which is great. It's always good to see where people came from, and you can see how the work slowly developed, and at the same time, it's pretty obvious that he knew how to draw academically. He knew how to do everyday kind of like just drawing, like traditional drawing, and the crazy designs and the dynamism came from a place of knowledge and understanding, and then he became more and more abstract on purpose. He started playing more with line design, things like that, on purpose, because he had a mastery of the regular form, the regular good draftsmanship, good anatomy, that sort of thing. And then you eventually get to the point where you can start playing and abstracting and designing and just generally being more experimental. But you don't get there from the start. You first want to have a background in the academic kind of art that you want to have. This is an amazing book, worth studying, worth having. I'm gonna end up having to look this up now and try to get myself a copy of it. Thank you, Andy, for loaning me this to share on this video. It's a really good book. I highly recommend it. I never knew about it. The problem with recommending Kirby books is that there is a ton of Kirby books. He was extremely prolific. He could draw comics. He would be able to draw a comic or two within 2 or 3 days. That's insane. It's that kind of a thing where he was able to just, like I said, he would start on one corner of the page, and like Kim Jong-gi, he would just go all the way through, and then the next page, go to the next page. I can't do that. It takes me forever just to do a single page, and Kirby was able to do, what, 4 or 5 a day? I don't even know how, maybe more. So he was an insanely good, insanely fast, and his decisions were, he just made the decisions right away. He knew what he was doing. He was a master. Highly recommend anything with Kirby. So I'm going to link it in the description of this video to where you can find all kinds of Kirby books. So it's a big list. There was too much to recommend. So I only recommended specifically a handful, and then the rest I'm just going to let you take a look and decide what you're going to want to get. Highly recommend worth studying Kirby. He's heavily influential. He was extremely influential, and for the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be talking about people who lifted from Kirby and were inspired and studied Kirby like I'm recommending you to do, and did their own thing with what they learned from him. Okay, so thanks a lot for watching, and I'll talk to you next time. All right, bye.